Morning people, welcome to my channel, Ian here. Today I thought I'd do a short video on all things incense. Actually I got some new incense and a new incense burner, and it made me realise how important the burning of incense and fragrance was to me. And I thought, yeah, it would be a good idea just to make a short video on the various types of incense and how you burn it, for those who might be interested. Now I know that incense isn't for everyone. I was walking my dog just yesterday with someone and happened to mention that I'd got some new incense and I couldn't wait to try it, and she said, "Oh, I can't stand that stuff, it really makes me feel quite ill." So I know it isn't for everyone, but if you haven't tried incense, then I would recommend it, because it's well, to me it's a wonderful experience. And as I think I've mentioned in one of my other videos, our sense of smell is one of our most primitive senses, and really affects our emotions and can lift us into a place of well-being and happiness and contentment. So anyway, let's go through some of the things I've got on the table. The types of incense I'll be mentioning are perhaps some of the more common types. By that I mean that which you can find most frequently available, and you'll probably all be familiar with the joss stick type of incense, which is on the pieces of bamboo and highly scented. And this incense is usually made by a variety of natural ingredients, resins, plant extracts, and a binding agent, and then coated onto a thin piece of bamboo. Now sometimes there are artificial oils used. In fact, I think quite often artificial perfume oils are used, but they give a very pleasant smell, and I could recommend those to start off if you haven't burnt incense before. And normally what you find is that they go in a little burner like this, where you stick the end of the bamboo into the hole and it burns and the ash drops. So that's quite a common kind of incense, and you'll find most of these incenses are quite inexpensive. So that's the first one. Another form of way of burning is in one of these boxes, which has a perforated top. And what you do with this type of burner is you insert the stem of the incense into the side. There's a little hole, the ash catches in the bottom, and the incense rises through the holes. Now if you put your joss stick in here, it will generally have a slower burn because the airflow is restricted, and I find it lasts longer. The scent is pretty much the same, but it takes longer to burn, so therefore you can enjoy it for a little bit longer than if you have it on a stand like that. With these, there's also sometimes a little metal plate in one of the ends, so you can burn cone incense, which I'll show you now. Now cone incense will normally come in a little box. This is Nagchampa variety. It's the same material that you find on the joss stick, but no stick, and it's in the form of a little cone, which you just stand on a heat resistant surface and light it, and it burns in the same way. Very pleasant, very inexpensive. And similarly with your incense cone, once you're sure that it's lit, blow it out, set it down, and then it will burn and release its fragrance. Okay, the next kind of incense that I'll show you needs to be burnt on a charcoal disc or a charcoal briquette. it won't burn of its, you know, in and of itself. And the sorts of incense that we have there are incense that you can buy. I bought this from Star Child in Glastonbury. It's natural incense, it's resins, plant extracts, essential oils. This one is Kali. It's very dark and it's got a very, almost like an astringent, slightly vinegary, with undertones of musk and woodiness. This is beautiful, and I'll show you what you do to burn this, and then this will pretty much be the way that you burn all of the remaining incenses that I show you. So let me just put the top on that. Now, I mentioned charcoal briquettes. Now, the most common are these little self-igniting charcoal discs. You can also get bamboo briquettes. They tend to be square. The difference being these charcoal discs have a self-igniting chemical in them. So once you start them off, they spark and they burn. The good thing about these is they light fairly easily. The not so good thing is, because of the chemical in them that causes them to self-ignite, they do smell a little bit to start and they smoke. Excuse me. Whereas the bamboo briquettes, they have nothing in them other than bamboo charcoal, so they don't smell, but they are a little harder to light. Now, with these charcoal discs, there are a few things that you need to bear in mind. And the first thing is they get phenomenally hot. So you have to burn these in a heat-proof container. So some of the things, I'm sorry, it's the incense smell is so strong here, it's getting on my chest a little bit. I use a brass bowl. I also use another brass dish, and in this dish is old rice ash, which helps the air to get to the underside of the charcoal disc for a more even burn. But you really don't need rice ash. You really don't need anything other than the charcoal briquette and a heat-proof dish. But just a disclaimer, even if you are using a metal dish like this, you really need to make sure that it's on something heat resistant, because if you put this onto a glass table or onto a wooden table, the heat from this charcoal disc will probably crack your glass and mark your wood. They get very, very hot. So you also need something to handle them. My trusty tongs. And I like one now. That's why I've got the candle here. It's not for atmospherics. It's my means of ignition, because you need something that will give a good long burn, which is why I tend not to use matches. I don't know if you can see this, but there is sparkling going on. Now, another little tip from my own experience, you have to be patient with these discs. They take a little while to get hot. So, give it a little more. When they're ready, they go white. Now, if you're impatient, like I am, sometimes I look at it and the edges will be white and the middle will be still a little dark, and I'll think, oh, that'll do. Don't do that, because if you do, you're not going to get the best of your incense, because the middle, if it's still dark, is not at its proper heat. So it'll mean that your incense doesn't burn properly, and also the incense going on the coal before it's ready will mean that it doesn't burn properly. So all your impatience will have gotten you is partly burned incense. And this does take a little while, so I probably should have done this before I started. Yeah, I can see it smoking. So it's lit and the chemicals are beginning to be a little smelly. I'll just do it some more. You can see now why you need a tongs. Now I've seen some videos where people are using all sorts of things, balancing these discs on knives and all sorts, carrying them from their cooker. I wouldn't advise that, because if you should drop one of these coals, you're going to need some means of picking it up very quickly. Otherwise you can have your house on fire. Speaking of which, if you have operating smoke alarms, you're going to have to forget this, because any form of incense will set them off. Okay, I think, yeah, we are starting to burn. Right, so whilst that's getting itself to the right temperature, I'll carry on with talking about these incenses. Right, so we talked about the purchased incense, and I mentioned this Kali from Glastonbury. Okay. Another form of incense is some that you make yourself. No, I haven't. Oh yes, here it is. Now this, I love this. I made this. It took me ages to make it. It's based on a 2,000-year-old Egyptian temple recipe, and it's known as kapet or kifi, and it's squashy, and it's got about 22 plant and resin ingredients, and it's also got wine and honey and dates and figs in it, and it is the most wonderful smell. It's very natural, it's sweet, but it's warm. It's got some high spicy smells to it. It's really lovely, very much worth the effort that went into making it. And I made quite a lot, so I've been using it for about a year and I've still got all that left. Okay, so you can make your own incense. You can just grind up some plant materials, maybe some resins. You can even use kitchen spices like cinnamon to make your own incense. So kapet or kifi. Another really nice way of scenting your home is, now this looks as if it's purchased, but it isn't. I'm just using the jar, and inside it's just frankincense resin, which you can get quite inexpensively, and it's the resin of trees, pine and fir trees, and that gives a beautiful smell when you just drop it onto your coals. And at the start of the video I mentioned that the reason for my making this was that I got some new incense I hadn't tried before, and that is this black oud incense by Nabil, which I saw online and I'd wanted to try for ages, and it was reduced in a sale, so I bought it. Now this incense, I have never smelled anything like this. This is typical, I think, of fragrances from the Arab world, but it was a completely new experience to me. So I bought this, and because I like kind of ceremony and tradition, I bought a traditional incense burner. Now I think in Arabic it's bakur, and this is a bakur burner. It's just a heat resistant means of burning your bakur, and you use a coal, like I've just, in fact I should put the coal in there because that's what I wanted to do. I don't think I can pick it up now because it may have gone to powder. Oh, here we go. It's not quite ready yet, but almost. And the story of wood's quite fascinating because it's wood from the Aquileia tree, the agar wood tree. And what happens apparently is the tree is injured or infected, and it produces a type of sap, a resin, to try and fight the infection caused by the foreign agent, and that is what forms the oud wood, which is then chipped and burnt on hot coals. Now this, as I say, this was, well, I bought this on sale, and when I looked at it, it was ranging in price from £20, and I'm in the UK, so our currency is pounds and pence. It was ranged from £20, and I saw it on sale for £7.50 with free shipping. So I thought I'll try some of that, and it's amazing. It's little pieces of wood. I don't even know if you'll be able to see this, but tiny pieces of wood chips, which are obviously soaked in some kind of perfume oil. It's very floral, lots of roses, geranium, there's some lemon in it, but it's also musky and it's got quite a depth of smell to it. It's beautiful, but the thing I find most amazing about this is you need just a tiny amount. And 2 days ago I burnt a piece no bigger than this, and I can still smell it in my home 2 days later. So this 60-gram jar is going to last a very long time. Yes, we're ready. So this is what the charcoal briquette looks like when it's ready to burn the incense. You'll notice that it's gone grey, and if you put the incense on the coal whilst it's still black, you're not going to get the best out of it. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to break this into 2 pieces and drop it onto the coal. Completely missed, so trusty tongs at the ready. And hopefully you can see the smoke beginning to rise. And scent is amazing. And what I like about this burner is in Arab cultures, which I thought was really lovely, when visitors attend people's houses, they pass the Bakur burner around so they can enjoy it, and they fragrance their clothes and their hair and everything with it. This is lovely. So, if you haven't tried burning incense as a way of fragrance in your home, I would recommend you try it. It's so much nicer than these plugins that fill your house with artificial scents. It takes you back to a time before maybe modern living. People have been doing this for thousands of years, and it's a new experience. It's a type of smell that you won't find anywhere else. Incense has got its own character, and so I hope you give it a try. And thank you for listening. And I'm now going to go and wander around and smoke my house with this wonderful, wonderful oud wood. So I'll catch you guys again. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.